Let's head to the UK now for the latest on the riots. And it's not just the apparent far right or anti-immigration protests. Days after crowds of people of Muslim appearance ran riot, thousands of counter-protesters have now flooded the streets, mostly peaceful though, with banners such as Fight Racism, Stop the Far Right and Trade Racists for Refugees. Joining me now from London is former Foreign Minister Alexander Downer. Alexander, thank you for joining us. You're in the UK. How would you describe what's been happening over there?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't exaggerate it because you can walk around the streets of the UK and they're just as they normally are, except in isolated locations. So it's important to have a sense of perspective here. But secondly, the public, of course, generally speaking, abhor any violence, and there has been some violence, some acts of violence. But on the other hand, there is a deep concern about immigration in the UK, not immigration per se, but the volume of immigration and in particular illegal immigration and the failure of some migrants to integrate into British society. I mean, obviously many do integrate, but some of them do not integrate and live in enclaves, and enclaves which are dissociated from the rest of the country. And this breeds not only alienation for those people, but resentment amongst the rest of the community. So bad handling of immigration has led to a lot of bad feeling in this country, and some of that has recently spilled over.
Well, it seems like it's been a pressure cooker situation. It's been bubbling around underground for some time. And the UK Labor government has been quite strong in condemning far-right protesters. Yet the other day, Keir Starmer tweeted, well, we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or on Muslim communities. As Elon Musk pointed out, well, why not all communities? What do you make of the way the Labor government has responded to this?
Well, they've only been in office for 4 weeks, so it's hard to make any judgments about them, in all honesty. I mean, obviously, they're going to come out and condemn acts of violence, and they will say, as they probably should, that peaceful protests, as long as they're not too disruptive, are a perfectly legitimate part of a democracy. But I mean, they've quite rightly been condemning acts of violence, burning of buildings, attacking police cars, hurling missiles at the police and so on. I mean, they're quite rightly been condemning that. I mean, it's not so much to do with the new government in the UK, but over some years there's been an argument in the UK that police are it's two-tiered policing, that the police will tolerate protests which are left-wing protests like the Black Lives Matter protests, and Just Stop Oil protests in ways that they won't where there are right-wing protests against illegal immigration. That's pretty hard to prove, and the police definitely deny that's the case. But in any case, I wouldn't at this stage make too much of a judgment about the new government, to be entirely fair.
No, fair enough. Look, let's head to the US now. What do you make of Tim Walz's Kamala Harris's vice presidential pick? Donald Trump has claimed he's thrilled because he thinks that Walz is shocking. What's your take?
Well, in America, the rhetoric of party politics is, let's face it, pretty extreme. I'm not sure that it's shocking. I think, but for the Republicans, their campaign is going to be that both a combination of Walz, but also more importantly, Kamala Harris, are dangerous left-wingers. They're, as they would say in America, they're dangerous liberals. And definitely they do both have a record for woke policies and woke approaches to a variety of different issues, and that's going to be the target of the Republican campaign. I would say Walz is an uninteresting and unexciting candidate. I mean, apart from people who live in Minnesota, people generally wouldn't have even heard of him or thought about him. Probably the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, would have been a better vice presidential candidate. But
Yes.
Kamala Harris has also chosen somebody she's personally friendly with, and so that's obviously got to be a factor.
Yeah, you definitely think that. Alexander Down, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.